Hello friends, welcome back with a new session in DLK Nursing Academy and welcome to DLK Nursing Academy. Today we are going to discussing the third part of Introduction to the Human Anatomy and Physiology. In that today we are going to discussing about skeletons. Today class we are related to study about skeletons. If you are new to the my channel, please go and subscribe my DLK Nursing Academy and press bell icon to get notified and get related to the this type of notes and lectures for you all. Please go and subscribe and see the complete video to know the lecture. Let's start. Skeletons. The skeleton is a bony framework of the body. It forms the cavities and fossas that protects some structures. That means that skeleton is the bony part. The skeleton is the bony framework, and it forms the cavities. Cavities means holes and space, or cavities you can say space. In your language you can say space, and protects the some structures. It means that in that cavity some organs will be placed by protecting them. The skeleton will be do this one. The next is forms the joints and gives attachment to the muscles, and the skeleton also forms the joints and forming the attachments to the muscles. Okay. Here we are discussing about skeletons. The human skeleton is the internal to muscles, so it is described as a endoskeleton. Here we are discussing two types, that is endoskeleton and we are discussing endoskeleton. Endoskeleton means in our animals, in human animals or human skeletons. In human skeletons is internal to the muscles. Here skeletons are internally to the muscles. That means we can say that is endoskeletons. And the next is in lower animals such as insects and insects. In that muscles are attached to the inner aspect of rigid material which is offers protection. This type of is can called exoskeleton. Endoskeleton and exoskeleton. Exoskeleton means the in lower animals such as insects, the muscles are attached to the inner aspect of rigid materials which is which also offers protect same. In that endoskeleton and exoskeleton also same protects the organs. You can say two types of endoskeletons are there, two types of skeletons are there, such is first is endoskeleton and second one is exoskeleton. Endoskeleton is you can see superficially, and exoskeleton in deeper inside the in inner aspect of rigid materials. Okay, we can go with next section, that is detailed description of bones and skeletons is given in this chapter. Later we will discuss detailed skeletons, and here we are considering the overview only. That is skeletons are described in, the skeleton is described in two types, that is axial skeletons and appendicular skeletons. Axial skeletons and appendicular skeletons. Okay, axial skeletons and appendicular skeletons. What is meant by axial skeleton means this includes the bones of head, vertebral columns, and axial means axial part of the body, that is head. In that we can see skulls and vertebral column, ribs, sternum, and hyoid bones is also part of the axial skeletons. Okay, the next is appendicular skeletons. It is consist of both extremities, that is upper and lower extremities, joints and bones all will be present in this skeleton. There is skeleton has two types of skeletons, that is axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. The next section is musculoskeletal system. In the skeleton system, we will study first musculoskeletal system. In that musculoskeletal system, anatomy and physiology of musculoskeletal system, we can see the diagram of here. You can see this is the front view, and this is front view, and this is the back view. Here frontal bone is there, in that skull frontal bone is there, and nasal bone is there, and you can see here sphenoid bone and zygomatic maxillar and mandibular. In this skeletal in this skull we can see this much of bones, that is front view of that frontal bone, nasal bone, sphenoid bone, zygomatic and maxillar, and upper, you can say this is upper jaw, and mandible, you can say lower jaw. The next back view, you can say skull has a parietal bone, occipital bone, temporal bone, and the next is a clavicle bone, or you can say clavicle bone, you can say collar bone. Here clavicle bone is there, collar bone is there. Here clavicle bone is there, and next is the below this clavicle bone we can see scapula and sternum. This is the sternum. This is the sternum, and sternum, it is, you can say breastbone. You can say breastbone, and here 12 pairs of here 12 pairs of ribs will be see. We can see here 12 pairs of ribs we can see, and humerus is the, you can see humerus. This part we can say humerus bone. You can say humerus bone, and below the humerus we will find out two types of bones, that is radius and ulna. Radius, one part is radius and another part is ulna. One part is one part is radius and another part is ulna. You can see this is the anatomy and physiology of musculoskeletal system. And first type of skeleton system is axial skeleton. What is meant by axilla? In this section only, lastly I have told, in that we can see skull, thoracic cage and vertebral column. Three main components are there: skull, thoracic cage and vertebral column. This is a axial skeleton. We can say axial skeleton, and in that axial skeleton we will discuss about first skull. Okay, skull, the introduction part of the skull is, you can see introduction skull. The skeleton of the head is called skull. The skeleton of the head is called skull. It is consist of cranium and mandible. The skull is consist of two parts, that is cranium and mandible. In that cranium means the upper portion of the skull. You can say cranium means upper portion of the skull, and mandible means frontal view of the skull or lower view of the skull. You can say the upper part of the cranium forming the brain box is termed as a claviria. You can see claviria, and remainder part of the skull is called facial skeleton. Claviria and facial skeleton. Now I am told here, cranium means the upper part of the cranium forming the brain box is termed as the claviria. Claviria means which is the brain box. You can say brain box, and the remainder of the skull forms the facial skeleton. That is eye forming and mandibles will be present, and jaw will be present. Okay. The next is you can see I will explain a flow chart. The skull, you can see skull. Here skull is there. The skull has two parts, that is cranium and mandible. Cranium means the upper part of the skull, which forms the brain box, and the middle part of the mandible part is, we can say, remainder part of the skull, we can say, that forms the facial skeleton. You can remember this flow chart, and you can if in exam, if you are a first sem students, you can remember that is parts. If they ask explain human skull means, you can had in physiology, you can this is a important in physiology for adding flow charts. If you are in first sem students means, if you are attempting in RGUHS University Karnataka, in that you should follow the adding flow charts more for affecting them to evaluate the and score good marks. Okay, functions of next section is functions of skull. Functions of skull means protection of brain. You can see that is a brain box, act as a brain box, protection of brain, and protection of special sense organs like ears, eyes, tongues and nose. That is the mandible part. Protection of special sensory organs like ears, eyes, tongues and nose. Protection of beginnings of respiratory and digestive tract. It protects the respiratory and digestive tracts. Okay. The next part is thoracic cavity. The next part is thoracic cavity or thoracic cage. Okay. Thoracic cage is formed by 12 thoracic vertebrae. Remember, 12 thoracic vertebrae will be formed. That means that is the 12 pairs. Total vertebrae will be 24. Means 12 double. And one sternum. 12 pairs of ribs. 12 pairs of ribs will be present here. 12 pairs of ribs will be present. That means 24 ribs. 24 ribs will be present, and one sternum will be present. Important here, one sternum will be present. Total how much? Here 13 will be present. Thoracic cage has a 13 skeletons. Okay. The next functions of thoracic cage is, thoracic cage protects the chief organs of respiratory and circulation. In that thoracic cage we will find two types of systems, that is respiratory system and circulatory system. In that respiratory system we will see the lungs protection, and in the circulatory system we will see the heart. The next section is vertebral column. In that vertebral column we will study about spinal cord or spinal column, you can say, and backbone. Okay, we will study about spinal cord, spinal column or backbone. Then the main part of axial skeleton. It is the main part of axial skeleton. It consists of 33 bones called vertebra and intravertebral disc between them. It has a 33 bones, means here I will draw on diagram. You can see here this part, we can say here 33 vertebrae are present. What is mean by intravertebral disc? Means the place between the two vertebrae. You can say this is the intravertebral disc. This is intravertebral disc. Like this only 33 bones, that is vertebra will be formed. Okay. The vertebral column forms a strong and flexible support for the trunk. The vertebral column will be give us to get a strong and flexible support from the trunk, and it extends from the base of the skull through the neck and trunk. That is, I will draw on diagram here. See, this is the human body. This is skull base. You can say skull base. In this skull base, it extends from the neck and near to the base of the skull and near to the and neck and trunk. This type of will be formed. This is the vertebral column. The vertebral column is made up of 33 vertebra. 33 vertebra. In that, 7 in that we will see the parts of vertebral column, that is cervical and thoracic, lumbar, sacral, coccygeal. Here cervical we can denote, that is C. Cervical, it has 7 vertebrae columns, and thoracic you can see it as T. You can see T 12 and L 5, lumbar 5 and sacral S 5 and coccygeal C 4, coccygeal 4. Here how the 33 vertebrae will be distributed means cervical 12 vertebrae, cervical 7 vertebrae and 12 thoracic vertebrae, 5 lumbar vertebrae and 5 sacral vertebrae and 4 coccygeal vertebrae. But only of this 27 of them, that only 24 of them are movable. What are those means? 7 cervical bone, cervical vertebrae and 12 thoracic vertebrae and 5 lumbar vertebrae will be movable, and remaining 5 will be does not movable. That's does not movable. The 5 sacral vertebrae are fused to form the scapula and coccygeal vertebrae. The 5 sacral vertebrae will fuse to form scapula bone, which is present in the female or male both pelvis. Okay, the coccygeal will be present in the pelvis. Okay, the next we can see the front skull the diagram. I will explain the skull diagram. I can see this is the frontal view of the skull is frontal bone, and the next is sphenoidal bone. This part, this frontal bone, and this is the occipital bone. This part occipital bone, parietal lobe, parietal bone, and sphenoid bone. Sphenoid bone, parietal bone. This is a temporal bone. This part temporal bone, and parietal bone. This part of the parietal bone, and this part is frontal bone. This is the frontal view, and this is the parietal bone, temporal. This is temporal bone and occipital bone. There are 4 types of in that skull. We will discuss. Here corner sutures will be present. Here sutures will be present. Corner suture, and this is the nasal. Here nasal bone, lacrimal bone, and ethmoidal bone, maxilla, and next mandible, upper jaw and lower jaw. This is the mastoid process and zygomatic bone. In that thoracic cage you can see the clavicle. This is the collarbone and costal cartilage. Costal cartilage will be there. One sternum will be present. In that sternum we will discuss the upper portion of sternum. This is called manubrium, and lower portion of you can say xiphoid fossas, and the total body you can say, the remaining part you can say body of the sternum, and ribs will be present. Here 12 pairs of ribs are the present. Next, vertebral column. Here you can see the diagram of vertebral column. Cervical vertebra has a 7 cage, 7, and next thoracic has 12, like this. Intravertebral disc means the space between the two vertebrae. You can say the small space or small gap between the vertebrae, that is the intravertebral space. The thoracic vertebrae are a 12 and intravertebral disc, you can see that here this is the intravertebral disc, and the lumbar vertebra is 5, and intravertebral foramen is the whole foramen. Foramen means the whole. This is the sacrum and coccyx, which is seen in the pubic bone or pelvic. This is the axial skeleton. Now we are discussing appendicular skeleton. Appendicular skeleton. Appendicular skeleton consists of shoulder girdles and upper limbs and pelvic girdles and lower girdles. In that we will see the 4, that is shoulder girdles and upper limbs, lower limbs and pelvic girdle, lower limbs and upper limbs. And next one is the shoulder girdle is formed by the clavicle and scapula bones forming upper limbs and skeleton. The shoulder girdle will be formed by the collarbone and scapula. Scapula is the one of the bone which forms the upper skeletons, that is clavicle or collarbone, and the next scapula, humerus, radius, ulna, and next 8 carpal bones are there. 8 carpal bones in fingers, that is scapoid, lunate, trapeculate, triquetral and pisiform, trapezium, trapezoid, capitate, hamate, and 5 metacarpals and 14 phalanges. You can see this all you can see the in fingers also, or thumb of hand. The pelvic girdle is the formed by 2 innominate bones, that is hip bones and sacrum, the bones forming the lower skeleton. This is the pelvic. I will draw. This is the pelvic bone. This is the ilium part. This is the ilium part, and this is the ischium part. This is the pubis part. Here a small like this only. This is pubis. This is pubis, and femur, patella, tibia, and fibula. Here the lower extremities, we can see in that lower extremities bones are there. It's femur and patella, tibia and fibula. 7 tarsal in that carpal bones. Here 7 tarsal bones in lower extremities. Then in upper extremity we can see 8 carpal bones. In lower extremities we can see 7 tarsal bones, that is talus, calcaneum, navicular, cuboidal, and 3 cuneiform bones. Talus, calicunum, navicular, cuboid, and 3 caviform bones. In 5 metatarsals and 14 phalanges in fingers. Okay, you can see functions of vertebral column. The vertebral column has an important role in posture, supporting and body weight, locomotion, and protection of spinal cord and nerves root. The vertebral column is a main important role is posture maintaining and supporting and maintaining body weight. Allocation means movement, allocation movement of joints and movements of bones, and also nerve roots, and transmits the weight to the lower limbs, and it can transmit the lower weight to the lower limbs. The 24 movable vertebrals give the vertebral column considerably flexible, and the intervertebral disc between them also play important role in maintaining observable shock. That is observing shock means cushion, smoothie cushion. The functions of appendicular skeleton means that is the bones, joints, and muscles of the appendicular skeletons are involved in the producing voluntary movements of the body. The functions of appendicular skeletons are the voluntary movements. It protects the delicious structures like blood vessels and nerves. Delicious structures like means blood vessels. It protects the blood vessels, nerves, and from injury. Nerves also protects. This session is the now this session is going to be hand. That is, in this video we are discussed skeleton related to human anatomy and physiology. If you are like this video, you can comment it, and if you have any doubts regarding this topic, you can comment it. The comment box is yours. If I did any mistakes, please give me any inquiries. I will definitely clear my lecture and definitely solve my problem. If you are new to my channel, please go and subscribe DLK Nursing Academy and view completely video and get notified by pressing bell icon. And thank you friends.